Hey guys, AJ from Premier Racing Setups here. I am the builder for all of the 87 setups when it comes to Premier. Just kind of doing a quick video to kind of show you how to drive this car. I've talked to a lot of people and they say that this car is really hard to drive, really hard to learn. So we're going to break down a few fundamental things that will help you. And I figure with Draft Masters headed to Talladega with this car next week, this will be a good one, especially being that that's going to be there all week. And we've also got the Firecracker 400 coming up through iRacing, which a lot of these principles, even though it's Talladega, are all going to apply. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get out on the track here. The one thing that I can tell you with this car is, while people think it is very tough to drive, it's more of a expect it to be loose and be ready for the car to step late in a run. That being said, there's a few misconceptions, and one of the misconceptions is that you can take this car and you can run it into the corner that we're going into flat out. And like I say, it's a misconception because you're not really going to run into the corner flat out. I mean, if you're in a draft, you're going to be upwards of about 220 miles an hour here at Talladega. You will have to check up because this does not use the normal tire model that you see on a lot of cars. These tires heat up fast. It reacts much like a bias ply. So you want to kind of just lift off a little bit, let the car settle in and feed back into the throttle. If you try to flat foot it for laps on end around here, if you're by yourself, you can actually find this out as well. After about 5 to 6 laps, this car gets loose. And when it gets loose, as you go to exit like turns 2 or turns 4, it's going to get tight and plow. And when you get tight and plow, we're going to hit the wall. So the idea is blow in, fast out, much like road. You want to get the car to set, and you can almost feel it, if that makes sense. So as we come down in here to 1, we're out by the wall. We do kind of a little bit of a lift, and right about there, back into it. Now, we're on fresh tires, so it's not going to sit as funky. But the one thing that you'll find is later into a run on tires, you have to wait a little bit longer. So we're off, we let it set, and we're back on. Now, if a car is behind you, it's going to be looser because obviously it's going to pull air off of that spoiler, and that car is going to walk around, right? The other thing is you can't paint the yellow in this car like you would a next gen or an Xfinity. You've got to let the car float. You've got to let that car dance. And what I mean by that is you have to run the TV NASCAR line is the best way to put it. So you're down by the yellow, and then we let it kind of sweep out to the wall, and it helps a lot with tire wear on that right front, as well as burning off that right rear. Because if we burn off that right rear too hard, you go around pretty quick. So you're back down to the yellow in the corners. Now that's not saying that you can't run this yellow the whole way around, but you're gonna burn more off of that right rear. You're gonna burn more off of that right front, and you're actually gonna slow yourself down a little bit. And you can see as I go through the tri-oval there, it gets kind of funky, and just kind of goes a little wide and wobbly. And over time, it's gonna heat up those right sides, and you're not gonna be able to go the speed that you want to go. So the qualifying line, as I like to put it, is probably the best way to get around this place. Plus, as you come down the backstretch, it's going to cut the air on the right side of that car. And if you're by yourself and the pack is kind of in front of you because let's say you lost it a little bit, a lot of times if they're 2x2, you can use that cut of the wall and you can catch up to the cars in front. So, let's go ahead and hop out of the car here for a second. I just want to kind of show you a few things that I look at as to how it's going to tell me how it's going to drive around here. Because once you kind of start to understand what you're looking at with the setups themselves, the easier it becomes to kind of drive the car, and knowing is half the battle, right? So if we come in here and look at the garage, and I'm just in a test session, but I did load in the Talladega default setup. Tire pressure is pretty normal, which obviously in a fixed race we can't make any changes there. The only thing that we can actually change is our brake balance and our steering ratio. A lot of times with super speedways, like default, the car is set to 12-1 almost everywhere. Super speedways, I like to use a 12-1. Some guys say a 16-1. And the thing that I've found is if you get to 16-1, even on a direct drive wheel, it kind of feels mushy in the corners. And if it does get loose, it's a lot harder to catch. I tend to prefer a 14-1. It'll kind of slow that sweep down as you go through the corner. And you kind of almost wind up forcing yourself to use less wheel in it to get it to turn. So it's something to think about. But as we go and look at just a couple of things here, our caster's not really swept very far, which is going to make that front end pretty tight. Especially, like I said, we're gonna burn off that right front a little bit harder here, just because that right front's not swept out. The other thing to note is the track bar difference. They're closer together, gonna be tighter. If we were a little bit more split, it'd be a little bit looser off corner. So kind of pay attention to those things. And I encourage you to look at the setups everywhere you go with this car and start learning what you're seeing. Because again, the more that you can kind of understand the setup, the more that you're going to understand how that car has to be driven as we go around the track. So if we come back here, we'll look at a couple of laps really quick so you can kind of see how I run it. Obviously we're up high near the wall down the straightaways. We bring it just about to that yellow line. A lot of guys will run it right down. Some guys will run about a half lane up. It's whatever you're kind of comfortable with situation. And then back up against that wall down the back stretch. Again, cutting that air, using less tire, letting the corner kind of turn you in, bringing it back down to the bottom and running it that way. And we'll cover kind of some things with short track stuff as these little videos go on. But I think this will get you a great idea as how to run this car for Talladega for Draft Masters, as well as, like I said, with the Firecracker 400 coming up. I think it definitely should give you a hint as to the best way to approach it, really. That being said, if you've got any questions, feel free to, get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to, help people out, teach them, and help you become the best that you can be, in the 87s.